There's a specific kind of anxiety that hits you when you stand at the bottom of a massive project or a massive organizational change.
Oh, yeah.
It's that feeling of looking up at the summit, seeing it completely shrouded in clouds, and just thinking to yourself, there was absolutely no way we were getting up there.
Yeah, it's the paralysis of scale. I mean, when the mountain looks too big, most people don't even start climbing. They stand around at base camp and argue about the weather.
Right. Or they try to buy a helicopter.
Which, in the context of leadership, usually runs out of fuel and crashes about halfway up.
Exactly. So welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping on the boots and no helicopters allowed here to tackle Habit 13 from Mark Forkun's book, Genba Ikigai Leading to Serve. And we are shifting gears significantly today.
We really are. Up until now, if you've been following the series, we've been very focused on the individual leader and the immediate team. We've covered leading self, leading the tribe, and problem solving. But with Habit 13, we are entering section 4 of the book, which is leading organizational culture change.
This is the macro view. This is where we stop looking at our own messy desks and start looking at the entire ecosystem. And the specific habit we're analyzing today is called the habit of climbing the mountain.
Which sounds lovely and poetic, sure, but in the book, it's actually a really rigorous technical framework. It focuses on 2 massive pillars of the Toyota production system, which are PDCA and Kaizen.
2 words that get thrown around in boardrooms constantly, and let's be honest, usually incorrectly.
Oh, almost always incorrectly.
So our mission for you today is to fix that. We're going to give you the roadmap Forkun lays out, specifically the 4 stages of development. We want to show you how to actually move an organization from that chaotic, hair-on-fire reactive mode up to a state of strategic consistency.
But I think we have to start with a warning. Because before you start climbing a mountain, the first instinct for most modern leaders is to go shopping.
Yes, the skiing experience.
Yeah.
This case study in the book made me laugh out loud because it is painfully accurate to so many hobbies I've started and quit over the years.
It's a trap we've all seen, really.
Right. So the scenario Forkun describes goes like this. You decide you want to learn to ski. But instead of hiring an instructor or, hitting the bunny slopes to learn how to stand up, you go to the most expensive ski shop in town.
You buy the carbon fiber skis?
The carbon fiber skis, the aerodynamic goggles, the neon suit that makes you look like an Avenger. You look incredible.
You feel like you have invested in the capability, or so you think.
Exactly. You stand at the top of the Black Diamond Run, you look the part, and then gravity takes over. You don't tumble, you basically explode down the mountain. Equipment everywhere. Skis up in the trees.
Because you had the gear, but you didn't have the muscle memory. And Forkun uses this to illustrate the single biggest mistake companies make when they try to develop. They think development is something you buy.
This is the whole digital transformation trap, isn't it?
100%. In the corporate world, that neon ski suit is a new ERP system.
Right.
It's a fleet of collaborative robots. It's an Industry 4.0 dashboard that looks like the deck of the Starship Enterprise. Leaders sign the check and think, okay, we have the technology, therefore we are improved.
But the book makes a pretty brutal point here. If you automate a mess, you just get a faster mess.
If you automate a bad process, you get bad results faster. That's the core takeaway. True development, according to Genba Ikigai, starts with personal development and coaching. It's about the skill, not the tool. You have to build on the people and processes you already have before you layer on the complexity.
Which brings us to the methodology of that climbing. We mentioned Kaizen earlier. And I feel like if you ask 10 people what Kaizen means, 9 of them will say it's a suggestion box.
Right, like I think we should have better bagels on Fridays.
Yes.
That is not Kaizen, that is a wish list.
So how does Forkun define it in the context of the Toyota Production System, or TPS?
He gets very specific. He defines Kaizen not just as general improvement, but as the relentless pursuit of reducing the cost of one unit.
The cost of one unit, that sounds incredibly microscopic.
That's exactly the point. And unit doesn't just mean a car door or a widget coming off an assembly line. It could be a unit of behavior. It could be a unit of administrative work, like processing a single invoice. The goal is to strip away the muda, the waste from that single unit to make the flow efficient.
And this is where the suggestion box idea fails, right?
Yeah.
Because a suggestion is just an idea floating out there in the ether.
Exactly. Kaizen isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's only realized when you are implementing improvements repeatedly. And this ties directly to PDCA, which is plan, do, check, act.
I want to drill into PDCA for a second because I think people completely gloss over the check and act parts. We love the plan part.
Oh, we love to plan. corporate America is addicted to planning. We have meetings to plan the meeting where we will plan the project, and we're okay at doing it. We're busy. But we are terrible at checking and acting.
Why is that, you think?
Because checking requires you to look at the data and admit something didn't work. It requires humility. And acting means you have to actually change the standard based on what you learned. Most companies plan, do, and then plan again. They completely skip the learning loop.
So climbing this mountain isn't just about hiking up. It's about checking your footing every single step to make sure you aren't sliding back down.
And having the patience to do it. The text really emphasizes patience as a strategic virtue. We live in a quarterly results world. We want a helicopter to the summit. But Forkun is arguing for the long, slow climb because that is the only way you build the muscle to stay at the top.
Let's look at the map for this climb. This is the core framework of Habit 13, the 4 stages of organizational development.
Right, this is a hierarchy of maturity. And what's fascinating is that Forkun claims you can identify which stage a company is in just by doing a Genba walk.
Gemba meaning the real place walking the factory floor or the office where the work actually happens.
Precisely. You don't need to look at the balance sheet. You can smell the culture on the floor. You can hear it.
Okay, let's start at the bottom. Stage 1. This is where I assume most companies start and where many get stuck.
Stage 1 is reactive mode. In the industry, we call this firefighting.
I think a lot of listeners just felt a spike in cortisol hearing that word.
It's a high-stress environment. The defining characteristic of Stage 1 is that the loudest voice wins. Management isn't strategic, it's interventionist. A problem happens, a manager swoops in, yells at someone, fixes it, and feels like a total hero.
The hero culture. It feels good to be the hero, doesn't it? Like I saved the shipment, I drove it to the airport myself.
It feels great for the ego, but it's toxic for the business. Because the culture is driven by blame. When something breaks in Stage 1, the first question isn't why did the process fail? The question is who messed up?
So people hide problems.
They hide problems, they finger point, and they wait for the hero to tell them what to do. There is no standard, there is only the current crisis.
That sounds exhausting and totally unsustainable. So how do we get to Stage 2? What's the first foothold?
The foothold is standardizing. This is the shift from focusing on who caused the problem to what caused the problem.
This is where we start seeing tools like 5S.
Yes, 5S sort, set in order, shine, standardize, sustain. But it's not just about cleaning up or putting fancy tape on the floor. In Stage 2, you start to see stability. You're not just reacting to fires, you're installing smoke detectors. You see visual management boards appearing on the walls.
But are they being used? That's always my question. I see a lot of whiteboards that haven't been touched since 2019.
That's the catch. In Stage 2, the standards exist, but adherence is spotty. The intent is there to stabilize, but the discipline isn't fully baked in yet. However, the culture has shifted. It's less about blaming people and more about attempting to follow the procedure. It's sort of the teenage years of the organization. Awkward, but growing.
Okay, so we've stopped the bleeding. We have some stability. Now we move to Stage 3, proactive. This feels like a big lead.
It is a big leap. The defining characteristic of Stage 3 is the breaking down of silos. In Stage 2, you might have a standardized production department and a standardized maintenance department, but they still basically hate each other.
Right. Production wants to run the machines until they melt to hit their numbers. Maintenance wants to shut the machines down to fix them. Classic conflict.
Exactly. In Stage 3, they start sharing KPI, key performance indicators. They might look at something like operating ratio together. They realize they're actually on the same team.
So the conversation changes from you broke my machine to how do we keep this flow running?
Yes. And the result is that delivery becomes regular. It's not sporadic anymore. You hit your targets most of the time. The flow of materials and information becomes transparent. You can walk into a Stage 3 company and see the health of the business just by looking at the visual boards.
And the focus shifts to eliminating waste, or MUDA.
Right. Because you're not fighting fires constantly, you actually have the time and mental bandwidth to look for waste. You aren't just surviving, you're optimizing.
That sounds like a pretty good place to be. Honestly, I think many leaders would settle for Stage 3. But there is a summit, Stage 4.
Stage 4 is strategic and consistent.
What is the real difference between regular in Stage 3 and consistent in Stage 4?
Regular means you're reliable. Consistent means it is in the DNA. It means the capability is so deep that it survives turnover. If the manager leaves, the process doesn't collapse. But the real differentiator in Stage 4 is alignment. This is where Forkun introduces Hoshinkanri.
Can we unpack that term, Hoshinkanri? It sounds almost mystical.
It translates roughly to compass management or direction management. It's a strategic deployment method. Think about it this way. In stage 3, departments work together. In stage 4, every single person in the organization is aligned to the exact same long-term North Star.
This is where the famous NASA story comes in, right? The janitor.
It's the perfect illustration. President JFK visits NASA in the 1960s. He sees a janitor mopping the floor late at night. He asks the man, "What are you doing?" And the janitor doesn't say, "I'm mopping the floor." He says, "Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon."
It's a great story, but let's be real. It's incredibly hard to achieve that mindset in a regular business.
It is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
That janitor understood that his job cleaning prevented dust from getting into the delicate electronics, which ensured the safety of the mission. He connected his one unit of work to the ultimate strategy. That is stage 4.
And what is leadership doing in stage 4? Because they aren't firefighting anymore. They aren't even really managing the day-to-day flow.
No. Senior management in stage 4 is looking 2 to 3 years into the future. They aren't worried about today's numbers because they trust the process and the people to handle today. They are focused on the horizon. They are clearing the path for the future.
That sounds idyllic, but I have to play devil's advocate here. When we talk about lean, efficiency, and Kaizen, the average employee doesn't hear man on the moon. They hear the X.
They hear they're going to find the waste, and the waste is me.
Exactly. Efficiency usually is just corporate code for layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
How does Gemba Ikigai address that fear? Because you can't build trust if people think they're digging their own graves.
Forkin tackles this head-on with a very powerful metaphor. The axe versus the pruning shears.
Break that down for us.
Cost-cutting, the traditional Western corporate approach, is an axe. You hack off huge branches, you chop into the trunk. You might get immediate firewood, which looks like cash savings on a balance sheet, but you damage the structural integrity of the tree. The tree might survive, but it won't thrive.
And lean is pruning.
Lean is pruning. You use shears. You carefully cut away the dead leaves, the crossed branches, the suckers that drain energy, the non-value-added activities.
But you're still cutting something.
You are cutting activities, not people. The goal of pruning is growth. When you prune a fruit tree, you get more fruit. Forkin explicitly states that a successful lean transformation often requires more employees over time, not fewer.
Wait, really? More employees? That seems totally counterintuitive. If we are more efficient, don't we need fewer people to do the same amount of work?
Think about the economic cycle. You prune the waste. The process becomes faster and higher quality. Your costs to produce go down. Because your costs are down and quality is up, you become much more competitive in the market. You win more orders. Now you have so much work that you actually need more people to fulfill the demand.
So it's a cycle of abundance, whereas the axe is a cycle of scarcity.
Precisely. If you use lean to fire people, you kill the culture instantly. No one will ever do Kaizen again. Why would I improve my job if it means I lose it? Stage 4 is built on the absolute promise that improvement leads to growth for everyone.
That's a crucial distinction. It transforms the fear into engagement.
Yeah.
It means we are pruning the tasks we hate doing anyway, so we can do more of the work that actually matters.
Exactly.
Now, we can't talk about climbing this mountain without checking our backpack. We need to see how Habit 13 connects to what we've discussed in previous deep dives. We talked a lot about Habit 1, which was Hansei, or self-reflection.
You literally cannot climb the mountain without Hansei.
Why is that?
Because to move from stage 1 to stage 2, you have to admit you are in stage 1. A leader with a massive ego will look at a chaotic firefighting team and say, "We're just dynamic, we hustle, we work hard."
They completely reframe the failure as a feature. We thrive on chaos.
Right. Hansei is the mirror. You have to look in the mirror and say, "My team is firefighting because I haven't established standards. I am the problem." Without that self-reflection, you stay at the bottom of the mountain forever, convincing yourself you're already at the top.
It also ties perfectly into the concept of the inverted pyramid we've touched on in the servant leadership section.
Yes, it does. As you move up the stages, the leader's role flips. In stage 1, the leader is the commander, barking orders from the top. By stage 4, the leader is the servant. They are at the bottom of the pyramid, supporting the roots, clearing obstacles so the team can do the work. You can't be a servant leader if you're busy being a hero.
So if you are listening to this right now and you're realizing, oh boy, we are definitely in stage 1. Or maybe we bought the fancy skis, but we're crashing into trees. Where do you start? What are the practical takeaways here?
First, do that honest assessment. Do a Gemba walk. Don't look at your spreadsheets. Go walk your floor. Is it calm? Is it visual? Or is it loud and reactive? Identify your stage honestly. You can't map a route if you don't know your starting coordinates.
And stop buying technology to fix cultural problems.
Please, put the credit card away. Build the process first.
I also really love the one-unit mindset. It feels so much more manageable.
It lowers the barrier to entry entirely. Don't try to fix the company. That's paralyzing. Just try to reduce the effort of one unit of work today. Make one report easier to read. Make one tool easier to reach. That is Kaizen.
There was one more actionable step in the notes that I thought was hilarious but also deeply painful: the dead horse theory.
Ah, yes. The tribal wisdom, when you discover that you are riding a dead horse, the best strategy is to dismount.
It sounds so obvious, right? But we don't do that in business.
We absolutely do not. We buy a stronger whip.
Yes.
We change riders. We appoint a committee to study the dead horse. We visit other companies to see how they ride dead horses. We outsource the riding of the dead horse.
We lower the standards
Yeah.
so that dead is now classified as stable condition.
Exactly. But Habit 13 demands that you stop. If a process isn't working, if a behavior is toxic, dismount. Stop doing it. It's the act in PDCA. If the check says the horse is dead, the act must be to get off.
It really resonates. Sometimes the most strategic thing you can do is simply stop doing the thing that isn't working.
It's addition by subtraction. Pruning.
So we've got our gear, our actual skills,
Yeah.
not just our shiny toys.
Yeah.
We've checked our map, the 4 stages. We're pruning, not chopping, and we're getting off the dead horses.
That sounds like a really solid plan for the ascent.
I want to leave you with a thought from Taiichi Ono, the father of the Toyota production system, which was quoted in the source material. He said, "Progress cannot be generated when we are satisfied with existing situations."
It's a powerful challenge. Are you too comfortable with your current chaos? Because comfort is the absolute enemy of the climb.
Deep stuff. And looking ahead, once we start this climb, we realize we can't do it alone. Next time, on Habit 14, we're going to talk about engaging others. Now that we're moving up the mountain, how do we get everyone else to want to climb with us?
That is often the hardest part. It's one thing to want to climb yourself. It's another to inspire a whole tribe to come with you.
Absolutely. If you're enjoying this climb with us, make sure to subscribe to the Kaizen Made Easy YouTube channel. And if you want the full field guide, go grab Genba Ikigai, Leading to Serve by Mark Forkun on Amazon. It's the map we're using, and it's definitely worth having in your backpack.
It really is.
Thanks for joining this deep dive with us today. Start your climb, check your footing, and we'll see you at the next base camp.
Keep improving.